Chen Yang was really speechless. Does this girl have any basic concept of money? No, I won't accept it even if you transfer it. Chen Yang's family is not poor. His father Chen Jiangjin made some contributions in the anti-droop team when he was young. And now he has been promoted to the Public Security Bureau Chief of Linjiang City. When Chen Yang went to college, he was not entirely focused on studying. His family could not provide for him for the rest of his life, so he had to find his own way to make a fortune. Obviously, being with a rich woman is not what he wants, unless he has worked hard until he is in his 30s and has achieved nothing. You got my clothes wet, I really want to make it up to you. You have to wash my clothes later. Lin Xingyi was stunned for a moment, and looked at Chen Yang in disbelief. What? The first time Lin Xingyi did laundry was when she lived in her own rental house in college. I never had the opportunity to do this kind of work before. Chen Yang shrugged and showed a sly smile. Yes, I want you to do the laundry. Besides, you see, I am such a handsome guy, so of course I have to take good care of my clothes. And it's your pleasure. Chen Yang continued to display his ability to speak fluently. If Chen Yang's mother Li Huowan were here, Chen Yang would definitely not dare to say such things. After all, there is no reason to let guests do work. Lin Xingyi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You are so shameless. That's natural. Chen Yang admitted it generously and said proudly. I have carefully maintained my skin. You want to learn from me? This is called letting go of personal qualities and enjoying a happy life. You know what, Chen Yang's skin is pretty good. Lin Xingyi rolled her eyes, but couldn't help but smile. This scoundrel has a lot of rhetoric to offer. She knew that Chen Yang was trying to make herself happy in his own way. Seeing that Lin Xingyi's mood had improved, Chen Yang secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He might not be able to help much, but at least he could make her forget her troubles for a while. At least don't seek death. Alright, Chen Yang suddenly thought of something. Would you like to go to the balcony to have a look? I heard that today's sunrise is particularly beautiful. Lin Xingyi was too lazy to complain. The sun is out. Why are we still watching the sunrise? Chen Yang made a hurt expression. Well, then, I won't look at it. Okay, you're the best. They both got up and went to the balcony of the guest room. Chen Yang put his thin card on Lin Xingyi's shoulders and turned on the air conditioner, fearing that she would catch a cold. Hello, Lin Xingyi whispered. What if your parents see it? My name is not hello. My name is Chen Yang, I'll make you say it again. Lin Xingyi was silent for a while, but finally compromised. Chen Yang, what if your parents see this? Chen Yang smiled heavily and said, don't worry, they don't get up that early. Besides, even if I saw you, it wouldn't matter. At most I could just say you came to me for tutoring. It's better for me to tutor you. Lin Xingyi whispered again. With a GPA of 3.96, and ranking first in computer science, I am very qualified to say this. The two stood side by side on the balcony, watching the distant skyline slowly being dyed red by the rising sun. The sunlight shines on the two of them, giving this morning a warm glow. Chen Yang secretly glanced at the girl next to him and looked at the way the sunlight shone on her face. Her soft and smooth hair falls on her shoulders, and she looks even more fragile in the coat. It's really beautiful, Chen Yang thought to himself, silently pleasing his eyes. Doing good deeds and gaining merit is my reward. Chen Yang was bold enough to look at girls, and he didn't think there was anything inappropriate at all. It's just an appreciation of beauty, not impure thoughts. Chen Yang, Lin Xingyi turned her head and called softly, seeing that the other person was still looking at him, and had no intention of looking away after being noticed. Chen Yang responded naturally, but still did not look away. Thank you. Feeling a little embarrassed by being stared at, Lin Xingyi turned her head away instead. Chen Yang is not embarrassed. It is others who are embarrassed. Are you going to say that you are a good person next? That. Chen Yang cleared his throat, looking relaxed. No need to thank me, just live a good life as a reward for me. I'm on call 24 hours a day, professionally entertaining you for 10 years. Warming your bed, sleeping with you. Seeing that he was talking non-stop and getting more and more outrageous, Lin Xingyi quickly stopped him. Can't you be more serious? Actually, Chen Yang made an exaggerated expression. Could it be? The legendary Meow Meow fist. Lin Xingyi tried hard to remain reserved, but she couldn't suppress the smile. The sun was getting brighter and brighter, scorching the riverside. Lin Xingyi took a deep breath and tried to feel the hope brought by the new day. Now he finally looks a bit alive. I wanted to ask her what it meant that she transferred 1,000 and then to 1,000 to me, but I was afraid of reminding her of sad things. Downstairs living room. Mother Chen hummed a little tune and brought the last dish to the table. She looked at her masterpiece with satisfaction. Fragrant dumplings, golden and crispy fried dough sticks, steaming soy milk, and some refreshing side dishes. Mr. Chen, go wake up your son. Li Huowan said to her husband who was watching TV. That child always sleeps like a pig. Chen Jiangjin stood up slowly. Okay, I'll go get that guy. At this moment, Chen's mother seemed to remember something and hurriedly stopped her husband. Wait, let me go, there's also that little girl, it's not appropriate for a grown man to go. On the balcony of the guest room, the cell phone in Lin Xingyi's left hand vibrated. Come back to me right now. Lin Xingyi saw that the person who sent the message was her father. The cold words tugged at her heart. The body that was originally warmed by the morning sun began to shiver. I just felt that the air conditioner in the room was very cold. The sun outside was very hot, and my pink lips couldn't help but turn pale. Mother Chen tiptoed to the door of her son's room and knocked gently. Yang, get up, breakfast is ready. No response. Yang? Chen's mother knocked a few more times. But still no response. An ominous premonition suddenly came to her mind. Mother Chen took a deep breath and carefully opened the door. Empty. The bed was neatly made, obviously no one had slept in it last night. Chen's mother's heart skipped a beat. That girl last night. This brat. She walked quickly to the guest room, paused at the door, and then knocked solemnly. Here we come. It was my son's voice. The door opened, and Chen Yang stood at the door lazily, his hair a little messy. Mom, what's wrong? Li Huowan narrowed her eyes and looked carefully at her son, who was a head taller than her. At this moment she looked over Chen Yang's shoulder, and saw the scene in the room. The girl was sitting on the edge of the bed, wearing Chen Yang's coat. For a moment, the air seemed to freeze. Good morning, Auntie. Lin Xingyi greeted him awkwardly, with a faint blush on her face. Chen's mother's expression changed from shock to complexity. Without saying a word, she grabbed Chen Yang's arm and pulled him out of the room. Mom, what are you doing? Chen Yang was a little confused. Li Huowan pulled her son to the end of the corridor and said in a low voice. Chen Yang, Mom knows you've grown up, and some things are normal. But you have to know the limits. Mom also wants to have a grandchild. But she has to wait until you graduate from college. At this age, it's absolutely impossible. Chen Yang looked at his mother's serious expression. His eyes widened, and his face instantly flushed. Mom! What nonsense are you talking about? We are innocent. Nothing happened. Yet, Li Huowan looked at her son suspiciously. Then explain to me why you didn't sleep in your own room. And why your clothes were draped over the girl. Chen Yang sighed helplessly. Mom, listen to me, it rained last night, and Xingyi got into some trouble. I was just comforting her. We really didn't do anything. Doing nothing means doing nothing. Without. Chen's mother carefully observed her son's expression, as if trying to determine whether what he said was true. At this moment, Chen Jiangjin's voice came from downstairs. What are you two whispering about upstairs? Breakfast is getting cold. Li Huowan then let go of her son's arm. Okay, let's go downstairs and eat first. We'll talk about this later. The family sat at the dining table, and the atmosphere was a little subtle. Chen Jiangjin looked at his son, then at his wife, and finally his gaze fell on Lin Xingyi. He raised an eyebrow, looking thoughtful. Chen Yang's eyebrows are carved out of the same mold as Chen Jiangjin's. Xingyi, Father Chen said kindly, eat more, you look so skinny. You need to eat more. Lin Xingyi was a little absent-minded and nodded politely. Thank you, uncle. Li Huowan glared at her husband with disappointment. This old man, can't he see how serious the situation is? Chen Yang picked up a steamed bun and secretly observed his parents' expressions. He couldn't help but laugh when he saw his father looking at him as if he was thinking about life, which was none of his business. The Public Security Bureau Chief of Linzhang City is just a husband to his wife and a father to his children at home. My mother would glance at Lin Xingyi from time to time, and then look at me meaningfully. That Xingyi. Chen's mother finally spoke up. Which school do you go to? What does your family do? Lin Xingyi put down her chopsticks nervously. Auntie? Chen Yang and I went to the same university. My mom is a university professor and my dad is a businessman. The couple looked at each other, and Chen's mother continued to ask, so how are your grades? Do you have any special skills? Mom. Chen Yang couldn't help interrupting. Mom, what are you doing? Interrogating. Li Huowan glared at her son. I am concerned about you. What do you know? Chen Jiangjin cleared his throat. Alright, let's eat. Xingyi, ignore them and eat more. The breakfast tended in this subtle atmosphere. Lin Xingyi was a little listless. She politely thanked Chen Yang's parents and said that it was time for her to go home. I send you. Chen Yang stood up. Li Huowan was about to say something else when Chen Jiangjin stopped her. Go ahead, and be careful. Watching the two young men leave, Chen's mother sighed. Old Chen, you said this child. Father Chen said thoughtfully. The girl's family is well off. And her parents are both well off, but what? Chen's mother asked. Father Chen shook his head. Can't you see, that girl has a worried look in her eyes. It seems that her family relationship may not be harmonious. Mother Chen nodded thoughtfully. That's right, so what do you think we should do? Don't worry, said Father Chen, when Yang comes back. We'll ask about the situation if the girl is really in trouble. We'll help her if we can. Mother Chen showed an expression of approval. Okay, you're right, but this child has grown up and it's really worrying. After a while, the door opened and Chen Yang came back. Mother Chen immediately frowned. Chen Yang, this is no joke. You have to know that you are not old enough. Yes, Chen Yang made a gesture of surrender, but still had a mischievous smile on his face. I know what you're going to say, at least graduate from college. Be careful of the impact, right? Chen Jiangjin couldn't help laughing. Kid, be careful when talking to your mother, but. He paused. What's going on between you and that girl named Lin Xingyi? Chen Yang shrugged and sat down on the sofa. Actually, it's no big deals, he's been in some trouble lately. So I just helped her out. What trouble? Chen's mother asked. Chen Yang's expression became a little more serious. Although her family is well off, they are too busy and rarely care about her. She sometimes, he paused, as if choosing his words, has some bad thoughts. Both parents were reasonable, and Chen Yang had nothing to hide. He simply described what happened on the rooftop that day, when he saw Lin Xingyi trying to commit suicide. Father Chen and Mother Chen looked at each other and saw worry in each other's eyes. Yang, Chen's mother said softly. You did the right thing. However, you also have to remember that some things cannot be solved by you alone. If you encounter any serious problems, you must tell us. Understand? Chen Yang replied exaggerated, yes. Mother. Chen's mother shook her head helplessly. Can't you be more serious? That's so boring, Chen Yang said with a grin. Besides. Mother Chen was amused by her son and patted him gently. Go away, stop talking nonsense. Father Chen looked at his son and his wife bickering, and a hint of relief flashed in his eyes. When did his son grow so big? He was a little kid crying for candy all day just a few days ago, but now he has brought a girl home. Okay, said Father Chen. Son, remember, no matter what happens, we support you. Chen Yang stood up and made a crying expression. Dad, I'm so moved by what you said that I'm about to cry. Don't give me that shit, Chen's father scolded with a smile. Go back to your room. Chen Yang stuck out his tongue and ran back to his room. After closing the door, he leaned against it, the smile on his face slowly softening. Lying on the bed, Chen Yang recalled everything that happened this morning. When he went to see Lin Xingyi off, his face was still pale. TSK. I got out of bed and decided to go back to the school dormitory to play games with my roommates. After all, it's the weekend, so you have to have some fun. At the same time, downstairs, Chen's father and mother were cleaning up the dishes in the kitchen. Old Chen, Chen's mother said softly, you said our son. Father Chen smiled. I've grown up and learned to care about others. Isn't that a good thing? Chen Yang called his roommate and told him that he would be there soon and would wait for him while playing online games. As soon as he entered the 5th south gate of Linjiang University, a familiar figure came into his sight, causing his heartbeat to speed up instantly. Ancestors, this is terrible. Chen Yang sighed silently in his heart, and subconsciously wanted to turn around and leave, pretending that he saw nothing. However, fate seemed to play a joke on him. When the girl turned around, his eyes met hers. Judging from the direction she was heading, she should be heading towards the boys' dormitory. Shan Shuying, the girl who started to confess her love to Chen Yang right after graduating from high school, actually pursued him all the way to college. Chen Yang was also helpless. When he was in high school, he sat behind Shen Shuying. When people asked him questions, he would explain them to her. When people asked him to help get water, Chen Yang would do it for her. I don't know how, but I attracted some peach blossoms. Is it because of the charm that has nowhere to go? Chen Yang. Shan Shuying shouted excitedly, her fingers in wind with the hem of her skirt. Chen Yang just wanted to run away. I glanced at my phone and saw there was another transfer. Lin Xingyi, 1,000. Thank you for spending the night with me. What does it mean to accompany someone for a night? Chen Yang was speechless. He would correct her view on money when he got the chance. This is not the way to spend money, even if you have it. A person who wants to commit suicide definitely has problems in more than one aspect. Of course, those who buy stock so much that they jump off buildings are another matter. Thinking of Lin Xingyi's expression when she left his house, he felt a little worried. The girl who was rescued with great difficulty must live well. She trotted towards Chen Yang, holding a pink envelope in her hand. Chen Yang recognized the envelope. It was exactly the same as the one he returned last time. He wanted to escape so badly, but his brothers were still waiting for him. After a pause, he opened his mouth and started talking nonsense. We are still young, and the most important thing now is to study. Even when we go to college, we can't slack off. This statement seems to be exactly the same as what Lin Xingyi's mother said. Of course, Chen Yang definitely doesn't think so in his heart. Chen Yang spoke passionately, and it seemed as if a bright future would just be around the corner tomorrow. Still afraid of giving people slim hope, Chen Yang emphasized one more sentence at the end. I don't like you, I hope you understand. After saying the last sentence, Chen Yang disappeared without waiting for Shen Shuying's response. The most important thing now is playing games with my brothers. Chen Yang quickly went upstairs and pushed open the door of dormitory 306. As soon as he entered the door, he saw his three stupid roommates. Hey, Lao Chen is back. Fu Qin was the first to notice Chen Yang's arrival and waved to him. Ji Bakyu and Liu Daonji also turned their heads. Hurry up, hurry up. Hurry up, get on the number. Chen Yang threw his phone on the table and asked. What game are you playing, Valorant or Honor of Kings? Is that even a question? Fu Qin rolled his eyes. Of course it's Honor of Kings. Valorant is too difficult. I'm always killed instantly. If you are not good at it, practice more. Ji Bakyu immediately followed up with a sarcastic remark. The other three also agreed that it didn't matter what game they played. What was more important was to play together. Chen Yang smiled and shook his head. Then picked up his phone. Okay, then you'll be the king. But I warn you, if you cheat me again, I won't forgive you. Don't worry. Liu Daonji patted his chest and promised. We will definitely play well this time, and make sure you can carry the whole game. A few people logged into the game with laughter and quickly formed a team of 4. Idea King Ji Bakyu's eyes suddenly lit up. Hey, I have an idea. Let's get someone nearby. Do you want to trick others and then get killed immediately by a single player offline? Ji Bakyu clicked on the people nearby function, and soon found an online player. Shenjia Shuzin, 50-star Glory King, 453 meters away from us. It's you. Okay, we are short of one person anyway. So a passerby would be good too. Chen Yang nodded. Ji Bakyu immediately sent out an invitation to form a team. But he didn't expect the other party to accept it so quickly. What was even more surprising was that when Shenjia Shuxian entered the voice channel, what came out was a clear and pleasant female voice. Hello. The dormitory was silent for a second, and then there was a burst of exclamations. Oh my god, it's a girl. Liu Daonji was so excited that he almost jumped out of his chair. Fu Qin was no longer calm. My god, this is such good luck. Ji Bakyu said excitedly into the microphone. Hello beautiful. The three of them seemed to have never seen a woman before. Only Chen Yang was relatively calm. Faced with the boy's sudden enthusiasm, the girl seemed frightened. The next second, the girl turned off the microphone. As soon as Chen Yang heard this voice in this familiar avatar, he immediately turned off the microphone. Damn, why is it Shen Shuying? Just when I was about to change someone, the host Ji Bakyu had already started the game. Chen Yang didn't add her on WeChat, and his profile picture was just a stupid one, so he wasn't recognized. Ji Bakyu scratched his head. A little embarrassed. It's true that we overreacted. But it's so rare to meet a girl. Under Chen Yang's BP command, the female demon shot, and Dakia was sent to the ban position without knowing what was good for her. After the game started, the 5 people quickly chose their respective positions. Chen Yang chose his best character Li Bai as the jungler, while Yu Daonji took out the DAJ. He had practiced hard and went to the middle lane. The person who plays DAJ is not necessarily a soft girl. He may also be a muscular fitness tycoon. This time, Fu Qin confidently locked down the assassin hero Yuan Ji. I've watched a lot of Yuan Ji's video tutorials recently, he said confidently. I must show my skills today. And I will kill the enemy at level 3. Spirit, activate? However, it turns out that watching videos and actual combat are two different things. 10 minutes into the game, Fu Qin's Yuan Ji had already achieved a horrific record of 0-7. Fu Qin, do you know how to play? Ji Bakyu couldn't help but complain. The other party also typed in mocked. You've watched too many short videos. Fu Qin explained to his roommates in frustration. I don't know what happened when I was practicing. I clearly knew that switching positions and cutting would definitely hit the target. Chen Yang shook his head helplessly. Forget it, just go for the tank. I'll try to heal as much as I can this time, and see if I can turn the tables. Under the leadership of Chen Yang, the team barely managed to stabilize the situation. The Storm Dragon King team was defeated and ultimately lost the game. But at least it wasn't too ugly. Li Bai Yuanji, and DAJI? This lineup is already very good if it is not pushed quickly. The 5-person team was disbanded, and Ji Bakyu secretly clicked on Shenjia Shuxian's homepage and sent a friend request. What a complete failure. Liu Daonji looked at his 250 record and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he suddenly remembered something and said excitedly. By the way, have you read the campus forum? Recently, there is a selection of campus beauties and campus hunks. Fu Qin immediately perked up, as if the disastrous defeat had never happened. Really? Tell me, who's on the list? Liu Dayanji opened his phone and looked through the forum posts. Well, I won't talk about the school hunk, you guys definitely won't want to hear it. As for the school beauties, it's still the same old faces. Our student union vice president Liu Yuyan ranked first with an overwhelming advantage of 866 votes. Although most people don't care about this kind of selection. Liu Yuyan? Ji Bakyu smiled and joked. What? Hur? You don't have any feelings for her, do you? Ji Bakyu smiled, because the girl quickly accepted his friend request. Ji Bakyu stroked his yellow hair and said. It's not convenient to talk in the game. Add a V? Perhaps Shen Shuying had just been rejected by Chen Yang, and was feeling very depressed. The other party quickly sent the WeChat ID. Fukin's name was too advantageous, so everyone started calling him her and son's name. Fukin scratched his head a little embarrassed. Lie. Well, I admit that I kind of like her. It would be great if I can have a romance with her. I think you are just lustful also. I heard that people who are super addicted to games can't find girlfriends. The finishing blow came from Chen Yang. Chen Yang finished with another blow. Brother, I advise you not to think too much, she must have a lot of suitors. Let's keep our feet on the ground. As the saying goes, poor people play with cars, rich people play with watches. If you don't have money, just play around, don't be too rigid about gender. I think Xiao Jibo is a good match for you. Ji Bakyu didn't say anything when he was called, but moved his chair excitedly. He had already added the girl as a friend. He had a feeling that he would be the first person in 306 to get out of being single. Thinking of the envious and jealous looks of his brothers, he couldn't wait any longer. Liu Dayanji continued to look at his phone. Hey, look, the forum seems to be discussing Liu Yuyan's rumored boyfriend. What? A rumored boyfriend? The other two came over immediately, simply enjoying the fun. Liu Dayanji read. It is said that Liu Yuyan was often seen with student union president Su Sheng, and the two seem to have a close relationship, but some people say that they are just working relationships. Liu Dayanji looked at the time. They had been playing from noon to dinner time. It's so late, how about we have dinner and supper together? I'll treat you, let's celebrate Fukin's historic 011 record. Yes, Fukin died several more times later. Part-time poet. Chen Yang took out his cell phone and sent a message to Lin Xingyi. Chen Yang, eat on time. The next day at noon, Lin Xingyi also had lunch together as agreed. When he saw Lin Xingyi, Chen Yang wanted to put on an educating tone. You just slept at my house for one night, why did you transfer money to me again? Lin Xingyi had no expression on her face and answered in a natural tone. Because if someone helps you, you should be grateful. Chen Yang was speechless and didn't know how to refute this statement. The values are correct, but the actions are a bit outrageous. At present, Chen Yang is not sure about the main source of Lin Xingyi's depression, but he initially suspected that it was her parents. Chen Yang spent some time and got the course schedule for the computer major. After all, they only took one advanced mathematics class together. After the advanced mathematics class is over, the two of them probably won't have much overlap in their courses. Every lunchtime, if he had time, he would appear at the door of Lin Xingyi's classroom on time and block her from having lunch. If you have classes, just meet up in the cafeteria. Chen Yang felt like he had found a beautiful dining companion. The only downside was that I didn't have lunch with my brothers. One day, Lin Xingyi saw Chen Yang, with a hint of helplessness in her tone. Here we go again? I didn't dare to refuse, otherwise he might shout Lin Xingyi. I like you on the spot. However, Lin Xingyi hasn't felt the weight of having someone to accompany her for dinner regardless of the weather. She just thinks it's pretty good. At the beginning, Lin Xingyi was always silent, like a delicate but cold porcelain all. Chen Yang didn't care about that, he just said whatever he thought of and kept telling Lin Xingyi about his daily trivialitis. My roommate once asked Chen Yang, how do you chat with girls? Chen Yang said it was very simple, just say whatever you think. We continued talking all the way to the cafeteria. Lin Xingyi lowered her head and concentrated on eating the rice in the bowl, looking like she didn't want to listen to Chen Yang's nagging. As the days passed, Chen Yang discovered that Lin Xingyi's condition seemed to be slowly improving. Although her expression remained indifferent, the despair in her eyes was fading away little by little. Although he still acts like a mute, and can only say and oh. At noon that day, when Chen Yang was waiting downstairs of the teaching building as usual, Lin Xingyi actually took the initiative to speak. Today, I want to eat spicy hot pot. Chen Yang was stunned for a moment, and touched her forehead curiously. Fever? It was acted just like the real thing. Before Lin Xingyi could say anything back, Chen Yang took the first step. Okay, then let's go eat spicy hot pot. Lin Xingyi was concentrating on selecting various ingredients. Chen Yang looked at the girl in front of him, although her expression remained indifferent. But compared to the zombie look when I first saw him, he is now much better. Will you go home tomorrow? Chen Yang asked. Well, tell me to go back. Being controlled by my parents in college feels so suffocating. Lin Xingyi has never talked back to her parents since she was a child. After several months of observation, Chen Yang found that Lin Xingyi seemed to be getting better little by little when she was at school. But as soon as I got home, the progress bar seemed to reset immediately. After observing once more, Chen Yang could almost determine the source of Lin Xingyi's depression. Thinking of my home, the warmth and harmony, and the care of my parents. It can be said to be a good place to recharge. Okay. I'll take you there tomorrow morning, Chen Yang replied. And Lin Xingyi did not refuse. Chen Yang even had a wild suspicion that there was some evil spirit in Lin Xingyi's house, which would make people want to commit suicide as soon as they entered. Lin Xingyi grabbed the subway handrail, and she was only one stop away from home. Next stop, Xingyu Bay Station, passengers preparing to get off. Walking into the Junhao Villa community, Lin Xingyi passed by several fountain pools, and stood at the door of her house. Take a deep breath. Every time I go home it's like taking the college entrance examination. She pulled out her key and gently pushed the door open, hoping to sneak into her room quietly. Xingyi, you're back? Her mother's voice came and broke her fantasy. Well, I'm back. Lin Xingyi forced a smile and walked into the living room. However, it was not only her mother who was waiting for her, but also an unexpected person, her father. Dad, are you home today? She asked cautiously. Father Lin raised his head and looked at his daughter sharply. Why, am I weird being at home? Lin Xingyi lowered her head, not daring to look her father in the eye. And no, please take a seat. The meal will be ready soon. My mother poked her head out of the kitchen with a forced smile on her face. Lin Xingyi sat stiffly at the dining table, feeling a suffocating atmosphere in the air. My father sat down and my mother came out with the last dish. Xingyi, eat. The mother asked as she picked up some food for her. How's your study going lately? Have you participated in any competitions? Lin's mother was thinking about making Lin Xingyi, whom she had raised for 19 years, better so that she could get a good price for her, since she was not her biological daughter anyway. Lin Xingyi mechanically picked at the rice in the bowl and answered softly. It's okay. What do you mean okay? My father interrupted, with a hint of dissatisfaction in his voice. Do you know how competitive it is now? It's not enough to be just okay. The mother quickly agreed. Your dad means that you need to work harder. By the way, have you achieved a 4.0 GPA this semester? The final exam results haven't come out yet, so I'm still not sure. Lin Xingyi felt her stomach cramp. Have no idea? My father's tone became even more severe. You should always pay attention to your grades, remember. Only by maintaining the highest GPA can you have more opportunities in the future. The mother quickly agreed, as if to please the father. Yes, Xingyi, look at Xiaoli next door. He won the first prize in the programming competition last month. Lin Xingyi knew that for a school-level competition, even those made by seniors were of no value, but she did not have the energy to refute. Lin Xingyi lowered her head, feeling that every word was like a knife, stabbing her heart hard. She remembered the coping method that Chen Yang taught her. If you feel uncomfortable, just ignore what your parents say. She began to count silently in her mind, trying to block out the outside noise. Also, you should participate in more competitions. My father's voice was still persistent. You know, nowadays, we not only value grades, but also comprehensive qualities. You are still a girl if you don't do your best in all aspects. How can I trust you to hand over the company to you? When saying this, there was obvious reluctance in Lin Xiyui's voice. These few words seemed to determine Lin Xingyi's life. Lin Xingyi felt like she was about to suffocate. She chewed the food in her mouth mechanically, but she couldn't taste anything. Her parents' words were like an invisible net, making it hard for her to breathe. I'm stuffed. Lin Xingyi suddenly stood up, interrupting her parents' long speech. So soon? Mother looked at the almost untouched food, frowned, and said seriously, you haven't eaten much. Sit down and finish your meal. Look at you, are as thin as a bamboo pole. How can you cope with the high-intensity study? Lin Xingyi is 168 cm tall, barefoot, and weighs 55 kg with such a healthy BMI. She cannot be considered a bamboo pole. Lin Xingyi put down her bowl and chopsticks and ran straight out the door. Hey, Lin's mother pretended to chase after him. Let her go. Lin Xiyuha ate slowly, his voice intimidating without anger. It's best to die outside, it will save trouble. The woman didn't dare talk back to her husband because she had no biological children, and was always despised and even blamed by her husband. Lin Xiyuha was feeling upset. Seeing that Lin Xingyi would graduate from college in a few years, Lin Xiyuha would have to fulfill the promise he made to his brother Lin Xiyuha. Give half of the company's shares to Lin Xingyi. I had nothing at the beginning and took over this company from my brother who was in financial difficulty. Although the company has not developed much over the years, It is at least relatively stable. After working hard for so many years, I have to give half of it to someone else, and it's not even my own child. Lin Xiuhai asked himself, he had never treated Lin Xingyi badly. He raised her, provided her with adequate material conditions, and gave her 10,000 yuan in living expenses every month. I agreed nicely at the beginning, but now I am really unwilling to do so. Lin Xingyi didn't stop until she walked out of the community. She took a deep breath and felt tears welling up in her eyes. How she wished she could have a warm home and parents who truly understood her. The only time I felt this was at Chen Yang's house. Other people's parents were actually more like my own parents than mine. Lin Xingyi took out her cell phone, hesitated for a moment, and dialed Chen Yang's number. Hello, Xingyi? Chen Yang's voice came from the other end of the phone, still sounding a little bit improper. Chen Yang. Lin Xingyi's voice trembled a little. Can I go find you? There was silence on the other end of the phone for a second, and then Chen Yang's voice came. Of course, where are you? I'll pick you up. Chen Yang was really speechless. I just went to the subway station to see Lin Xingyi off in the morning, and she called him in tears at noon. If there weren't some unclean things in Lin Xingyi's house, Chen Yang could have determined the source of her depression. Her parents. Parents are a haven for some people and a nightmare for others. After Chen Yang hung up the phone, he wanted to go out and told his roommate that he was going to the library. Fuck, Lao Chen, you want to cancel again? Liu Dayanji's roar broke the silence, and scared Ji Bakyu, who was napping on the upper bunk, so much that he almost rolled off the bed. What's going on? Ji Bakyu poked a yellow-haired head out from behind the bed curtains. He had just sent a message to Shensha Shuxian, and asked with a confused look on his face. Fu Qin was fiddling with his signature messy hair in front of the mirror. He turned around after hearing this. What's going on with you guys lately? Liu Dayanji threw his phone onto the bed with a bang. We agreed to play with friends this afternoon, but you said you had something to do. Is this the third time this month? Etc. Ji Bakyu still had a hazy IQ, and suddenly realized something. Have you noticed that Lao Chen hasn't had lunch with us for a long time? Chen Yang, who was just about to go out, broke out in a sweat when he heard this. Fu Qin frowned and put down the hairspray in his hand. Really, didn't we go to the cafeteria together every day at noon without fail? Why can't I see him recently? Several people looked at each other, and a strange atmosphere filled the air. The dormitory was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Liu Dayanji stood up suddenly, his eyes shining. Oh my god! I understand, you must be picking up girls. Fuck. Ji Bakyu jumped off the bed in excitement. You mean Lao Chen is no longer single? Fu Qin's eyes widened, and the comb in his hand fell to the ground with a click. Oh my god, this is really possible. No wonder you've been acting so secretive lately. It turns out you've been secretly dating without telling us. Ah, no, Liu Dayanji slammed the table, almost shaking the shaky textbook on it to the ground. Old Chen, you hid such an important matter from your brothers. How can this be possible? Ji Bakyu nodded repeatedly, with a serious face. Yes, we are good brothers who have been through thick and thin together since our freshman military training. Before Chen Yang could explain himself, he was stared at by 3 pairs of piercing eyes, making him feel uncomfortable. Oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? Liu Dayanji snorted coldly. Library? Lao Chen, do you think we will believe it? You have been acting so sneaky lately, what on earth are you doing? Chen Yang's face flushed instantly. I really went to study. Fu Qin came up with a wicked smile. Stop pretending and tell the truth. Do you have a girlfriend? Chen Yang had to play dumb at this time. What are you talking about? Ji Bakyu put his arm around Chen Yang's shoulders. Don't we know you? How could you spend a Saturday afternoon in the library? Come on, tell me, which department is that girl from? Of course, he was from the computer science department, but Chen Yang didn't say it. Chen Yang looked like he wanted to cry but couldn't. Really not, I was just preparing. Preparing for what? Preparing for a date? Liu Dayanji interrupted, don't try to deceive us. If we don't make it clear today, don't even think about leaving this door. Seeing the 3 roommates unwilling to give in, Chen Yang pretended to have to explain. Okay, I'll tell you. Actually, I'm preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam. Graduate school entrance exam. The 3 of them exclaimed in unison. Chen Yang nodded helplessly. Yes, I wanted to give you a surprise. So I didn't tell you. I've been reviewing secretly recently, and I'm afraid I can affect you. The room suddenly became quiet. After a long while, Fu Qin finally broke the silence. Old Chen, you roll the dog. Chen Yang touched the back of his head, feeling a little embarrassed. Alright, stop making it sound like some glitch idol drama. Fu Qin scolded with a smile, since you have decided to take the postgraduate entrance examination. Let's work hard together, I'll take care of the snacks for next semester. Real? Chen Yang's eyes lit up and he casually mentioned it. And unexpectedly got an unexpected gain. The snacks are not expensive. But other people's food is always extra delicious. That's a must. Liu Dayanji also joined in the fun, but if I don't pass the exam, you have to treat us when we get together next time. No problem. Chen Yang responded with a smile, if others are sincere to you, of course you should be sincere in return. Lin Xingyi stood at the agreed location. The breeze under the tree brushing her hair, bringing a hint of coolness. She looked down at her phone, and the screen showed a message from Chen Yang. Coming right up. After he said that he was taking the postgraduate entrance examination to win a bright future, his roommates finally let him go. Lin Xingyi took a deep breath and tried to calm her inner turmoil. The moisture at the corners of the eyes has just dried up, but the slender ends of the eyes are still a little red. The meal she had just eaten at home seemed to still linger in her stomach, heavy and making her feel uncomfortable. Lin Xingyi. A familiar voice came from behind Lin. Xingyi turned around and saw Chen Yang running towards her. Have you been waiting long? Chen Yang asked breathlessly, tidying up his messy hair from running. Lin Xingyi shook her head. No, I just arrived too. Seeing Chen Yang, he seemed to feel a little better. Chen Yang looked at her as she lowered her head to hide her tears. Her eyes and nose were red, she must have just cried. By the way, do you have anything like the ancient bronze mirror, Bagua formation, or stone talisman at home? Ah, no. Lin Xingyi felt strange. She felt confused as soon as Chen Yang opened his mouth. It was impossible to think about it, so Chen Yang first ruled out the possibility that there was something dirty in her house. Then it turned out to be her parents. Chen Yang looked at Lin Xingyi carefully. How is it? Is the situation at home okay? When talking about home, Lin Xingyi's expression instantly darkened. She lowered her head and whispered, it's okay, that's it. Chen Yang frowned and changed his tone to a mean one. Come to think of it, didn't you just say on the phone that there were club activities? What activities? Viewing the scenery on the rooftop. These words were like a light punch, hitting Lin Xingyi's heart. She looked up sharply, a flash of anger and hurt in her eyes. But when she saw the concern in Chen Yang's eyes, the anger slowly dissipated. You. Lin Xingyi raised her hand, just at Chen Yang's waist, and pinched Chen Yang's waist symbolically with a little force. Don't joke like that. Ouch. Chen Yang shouted exaggeratingly, then smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm just a little worried about you. I don't have any clubs. It's just an excuse to please my parents. Lin Xingyi still explained it. His hand stayed on Chen Yang's waist and did not retract. She felt the warmth of Chen Yang's body temperature, and the haze in her heart seemed to dissipate a little. The boy's waist is quite tight. Chen Yang would steal glances at Xingyi's expression from time to time, wanting to say something to ease the atmosphere, but he didn't know where to start. By the way, Chen Yang suddenly remembered something. Are you renting with someone else? How is your relationship? Chen Yang tried to find other possible causes. I don't have a roommate. Lin Xingyi whispered, I live alone. Chen Yang was stunned for a moment, then realized something. Living alone may not be a good idea for someone who is experiencing depression. Xingyi, Chen Yang said carefully, are you okay living alone? Lin Xingyi stopped and looked up into the distance. The sunlight shone through the gaps in the leaves, casting mottled shadows on her face. Sometimes it's nice, she whispered. Quiet, no one to deal with. But sometimes, her voice trembled slightly. Sometimes I feel like the whole world has disappeared, and I'm the only one left. Chen Yang felt his heart tighten. How about I go live with her? Chen Yang quickly dismissed this outrageous idea. Talk is talk, action is action. At this moment, Lin Xingyi's cell phone suddenly rang. She took out her cell phone and saw that it was a message from her mother. What's wrong? Chen Yang asked. Lin Xingyi's expression became complicated. My mom said she made an appointment for me with a psychiatrist. That's great, professional help might be of great help to you. But Lin Xingyi shook her head, a hint of resistance flashing in her eyes. I don't want to go, those doctors don't understand me at all. Chen Yang thought that this was not an easy thing to do. He had a problem but didn't want to see a doctor and was afraid to see a doctor. However, it is true that this kind of mental illness is very different from physical illnesses such as colds and fevers. It is said that heart disease is difficult to cure. Lin Xingyi looked up at Chen Yang, with an indescribable emotion in her beautiful eyes. Do you think I should go? Chen Yang nodded. Well, I think it's worth a try. Lin Xingyi was silent for a while, and suddenly said, then you go with me. This request caught Chen Yang off guard. He opened his mouth, not knowing how to answer for a moment. You don't want to? Lin Xingyi's voice was filled with disappointment. I'll give you 1,000 if you go with me. Chen Yang felt speechless. Is the starting price of this little rich woman 1,000? It's not that I don't want to. Chen Yang explained. It's just for things like this, family members are usually present. Right? Wouldn't it be very embarrassing if I ran into your parents then? Lin Xingyi's tone was still cold. Don't worry, they are very busy and have no time. So they won't go with me. Ever since they met on the rooftop, Chen Yang had always been sticking to her and asked her to have lunch with him at noon. It was her first time making a request, and Lin Xingyi was even a little worried about being rejected. Chen Yang didn't expect that the situation had become so bad. No wonder you don't want to live after going home once. Chen Yang muttered to himself. Okay, Chen Yang finally said. I'm going to be your boyfriend soon, so I'll go with you. A potential boyfriend is considered half a family member, right? Chen Yang was talking nonsense in a serious tone. As if she was used to his rogue. Lin Xingyi did not argue with him. Do you think I'm troublesome? She asked in a low voice, her voice full of uncertainty. For couples, this seems to be a life-threatening question. But Chen Yang did not deny that he did not want to make any solemn promises. After all, they were not lovers. My original intention was not to pursue her. I'm just afraid that she will be upset again. When she is in a bad mood, she acts a little bit rogue, and when she is in a better mood, she acts a little bit more normal. Yes, a little, but I think it's okay. I think you look really good when you smile, so if you smile more often so that I can enjoy your eyes, that will be your way of repaying me. He just didn't want to see a life disappear so fragile. Merit 111. Chen Yang thought to himself that he had done another good thing. Lin Xingyi looked up at Chen Yang. Her expression was a little confused at first, but the haze in her eyes seemed to have dissipated a little. She nodded slightly, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, trying to smile. Thank you, Chen Yang. But Lin Xingyi's mood was like the unpredictable weather, sometimes gloomy, sometimes even gloomier. Lin Xingyi, Chen Yang suddenly said, you know what, you are like a star. Lin Xingyi looked at him puzzled. What do you mean? There's nothing serious about this guy's words, and it's definitely not like he's suddenly become romantic. Chen Yang pointed to the sky. Look, it's still light now. We can't see the stars. But the stars are always there. They are just temporarily obscured. Lin Xingyi nodded thoughtfully, as if to show her approval, but there was still a hint of confusion in her eyes. Chen Yang continued. You may feel very dark and lonely right now, but please know that this is only temporary. One day, you will shine again. At this point, Chen Yang suddenly changed the subject and revealed a smug smile. But I'm different. I'm the sun, shining all the time. Lin Xingyi couldn't help but rolled her eyes, but the corners of her mouth rose unconsciously. Narcissism. It's called confidence, honey. Chen Yang corrected. Blinking. Lin Xingyi has become desensitized to the word dear, and she can't persuade Chen Yang to call her that if he insists. Even if the two of them really get together in the future, they will not use this name. Hey, it's getting late. You want to go get something to eat? I know a really good ramen restaurant nearby. Lin Xingyi only ate 2 bites of food at home and shook her head. I don't feel like eating much. Chen Yang frowned, but did not force it. Then how about I take you home? I just came out of the house. Lin Xingyi was a little speechless. Did I call you out so that you could send me back? Chen Yang just said it casually. If he let her go home, she might just jump off a building. Well, why don't you come over to my place? We can watch a movie or something. Lin Xingyi hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded. Lin Xingyi was quite accepting of Chen Yang's family. On the way, the two passed by several universities, including Linjiang Medical University, Linjiang Agricultural University. Several universities are usually very close to each other. Wow, that girl is so pretty. Which school is she from? Stop looking at me, I have a boyfriend, don't be a clown. Whenever Chen Yang led Lin Xingyi on the road, he would always attract the attention of some college students. Lin Xingyi's life is basically a straight line between 2 points. She seldom goes out by herself and has almost no interpersonal relationships. When she went to college, Chen Yang became her first friend. The first time she arrived at Chen Yang's room, Lin Xingyi sat on the bed and looked around. Chen Yang's parents are both civil servants and are not at home now. The room is not big, but it is tidy. There were a few posters on the wall, and books and some unopened snacks on the desk. Would you like something to drink? Chen Yang asked. I have tea, coffee, and expired milk. It's only been expired for 1 day, we can't waste it. Water is fine, Lin Xingyi said softly, and the next second she saw Chen Yang showing off 3 boxes of expired milk. Won't you have diarrhea? Lin Xingyi was obviously seeing this kind of operation for the first time. It's okay, I'm fine. Xingyi, Chen Yang suddenly said. Have you ever thought maybe it would be better to move back to the school dormitory? Lin Xingyi shook her head. I don't want to bother others. I'm afraid that others will think I'm weird. Yeah, yep. Some girls are hard to get along with, so 4 of us can create several groups. Lin Xingyi lowered her head, her fingers rubbing the edge of the bed unconsciously. Pulling her out of the quagmire is not something that can be done overnight. Lin Xingyi felt her eyes getting hot again and felt a little embarrassed. So she said softly, "Thank you, Chen Yang. Why are you saying thank you for no reason? I'm not a good person, maybe I'm just coveting your beauty." After Chen Yang finished speaking, he licked his lips exaggerated and slurped twice. "Rogue," Lin Xingyi cursed softly. "There is no need for others to emphasize this kind of thing. You know how others feel about you." Chen Yang searched for a long time but couldn't find any good movies. He couldn't take her to watch a horror movie. There's not much food left in the refrigerator at home. And it's not good to always eat takeout. "Honey, can I come to your place and take a look?" Lin Xingyi was slightly stunned, automatically ignoring the word dear. And then nodded. "Okay, but my place is very simple." Chen Yang smiled and said, "It's okay, I'm not going to visit a mansion. By the way, can you cook there?" "Cook?" Lin Xingyi was a little confused. "I usually eat in the school cafeteria or order takeout. I seldom cook, and if I do, I just make some instant noodles or something. However, the matching kitchenware is available and should be usable." After listening to this, Chen Yang couldn't help but frown. He thought of Lin Xingyi's family background and guessed that her parents might not have asked her to do any housework. I sighed secretly in my heart. I'm already in college. I can't be idle and ignorant, right? How about this? Chen Yang said, "Let's go to the market and buy some vegetables. And then I'll teach you how to cook a few simple dishes. How about that?" Lin Xingyi hesitated. "But, I've never been to a vegetable market." There were so many people and the smell of various fresh food mixed together. She was a little scared. "It's okay," Chen Yang patted his chest. "With Chef Chen here, I promise you will learn real skills." Just like that, the two changed direction and walked towards the nearby vegetable market. On the way, Chen Yang chattered on and on about various things to pay attention to when buying groceries. "The most important thing when buying vegetables is to have a keen eye," Chen Yang said seriously. "First of all, you have to look at the freshness of the food. And then the price. The prices of vegetables vary in different seasons. So we should learn to compare prices." Lin Xingyi listened carefully and nodded from time to time, although she didn't quite understand some of the content. Walking into the vegetable market, Xingyi was a little overwhelmed by the noise and various smells. She subconsciously leaned closer to Chen Yang, her long eyelashes trembling slightly, revealing a hint of uneasiness. Chen Yang secretly glanced at the girl next to him. In the sunlight, Xingyi's fair face was faintly pink. "It's really a feast for the eyes. I can eat just by looking at it. But Chen Yang is a gentleman. Take it easy," Chen Yang said softly. And then suddenly grabbed Lin Xingyi's wrist. "Follow me and I promise to make you the queen of the vegetable market." Lin Xingyi was startled by the sudden physical contact. And her cheeks instantly flushed. She subconsciously wanted to pull her hand back. But seeing the people coming and going in the vegetable market, she did not break free. Her wrist was slightly cool, in stark contrast to Chen Yang's warm hand. What are you doing?" Lin Xingyi said in a low voice. Chen Yang said with a smile, "I'm just worried that you'll get lost." "I won't be responsible if you get lost." Lin Xingyi was helpless, but the corners of her mouth slightly raised. The two of them walked hand in hand into the bustling vegetable market. They first walked around the market. Chen Yang pointed at various vegetables and fruits, and introduced their characteristics and purchasing methods to Lin Xingyi. "Look, this tomato." Chen Yang picked up a bright red tomato. "Look for ones with a smooth skin and even color, they should feel elastic but not too hard." Lin Xingyi carefully took the tomato and squeezed it gently, imitating Chen Yang. "Is that so?" "Yes, that's right." Chen Yang nodded with a smile. "You learn very quickly." Lin Xingyi was a little embarrassed, but the corners of her mouth rose slightly. Coming to a vegetable stall, Chen Yang lowered his voice and said, "Now, let me teach you a little trick to avoid getting ripped off." He pointed to an old lady who was picking vegetables not far away. "See that old lady? Let's follow her and see how she buys." The elderly are all vegetable market veterans, and you can't go wrong by following them. Lin Xingyi hesitated. "Isn't that rude?" Chen Yang smiled and shook his head. "No, we're not following you on purpose, just think of it as a field trip." They followed the old lady quietly, watching how she selected vegetables and how she bargained. Lin Xingyi was surprised to find that the old lady not only had a unique vision, but was also able to bargain with the stall owners. And in the end she was always able to buy good dishes at reasonable prices. "See," Chen Yang said proudly, "this is the power of experience." Lin Xingyi nodded thoughtfully. It turns out that buying vegetables is also a science. The old lady also noticed the young couple and said with a smile, "Young couples need to learn how to live." Having said that, he left with the basket of vegetables. Lin Xingyi's ears turned red with embarrassment, and Chen Yang could only smile awkwardly. They started picking their own vegetables according to the method they had just learned. "Aunt Koyao was this cabbage per pound?" Lin Xingyi asked. Imitating Chen Yang's example, $2.50 a pound. the stall owner replied enthusiastically. Lin Xingyi looked back at Chen Yang. And after receiving his encouraging look, she mustered up the courage to say, "Can you make it cheaper? The grandma just bought it for 2 yuan per pound." The stall owner was stunned for a moment, then smiled awkwardly. "Okay, since you're a student, I'll give you $2. Lin Xingyi looked at Chen Yang in surprise, and the latter gave her a thumbs up. In this way, they slowly bought all the vegetables they needed. Although Lin Xingyi was still a little unfamiliar, she was already able to bargain with the stall owners on her own. "Chen Yang," Lin Xingyi said suddenly, "thank you for teaching me this." Chen Yang looked at her with some surprise. "No need to thank me. These are just some little life skills." Chen Yang thought that it might be helpful to be exposed to more life. Lin Xingyi shook her head. "No, before, I never thought I could do these things." Chen Yang looked at Lin Xingyi's serious expression, and couldn't help but want to laugh. "You did a great job. I crown you the queen of the vegetable market." "Stop talking nonsense." After buying the vegetables, the two walked toward Xingyi's rental house. On the way, Chen Yang kept explaining various cooking tips. "I'll teach you how to make a simple tomato scrambled eggs later," Chen Yang said excitedly. "This is a must-have dish for beginners. Just like writing Hello World first when you start pro." Lin Xingyi nodded, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Her parents hardly ever let her do any housework or touch any kitchen utensils. Lin Xingyi became a little curious. Halfway through the journey, Chen Yang suddenly stopped. "By the way, did we forget to buy some meat?" Lin Xingyi thought for a moment. "It seems so. How about we go back and buy some?" Chen Yang looked at the time and shook his head. "Forget it, eggs are enough. Let's practice cooking vegetables today. I'll teach you how to choose meat next time." Next time. Lin Xingyi silently memorized the word this time in her heart and found that she was actually looking forward to it. Arriving at Lin Xingyi's rental house, Chen Yang looked around and found that although the room was not big, with one bedroom and one living room, it was very tidy. The kitchen is small but has all the basic cooking utensils. "Not bad." Chen Yang smiled and said, "It looks like our star chef will be born soon." Lin Xingyi rubbed her hands nervously. Can I? Chen Yang patted her shoulder. "Of course, believe in yourself. Besides, with a chef like me by your side to guide you, what are you afraid of?" Chen Yang started his private cooking lessons. "Teach you step by step how to wash vegetables, cut vegetables and control the heat." Although Lin Xingyi's movements were clumsy, she learned it very seriously. "Be careful, turn the pot frequently, otherwise the food will get burnt," Chen Yang reminded. Looking at her delicate and serious profile, he couldn't help but reach out and gently brush away a strand of hair on her forehead. Lin Xingyi was not prepared for this, and was so startled by this sudden intimate gesture, that she almost dropped the spatula. She blushed and said, "What are you doing? So sensitive?" Chen Yang blinked innocently. "Oh, we're afraid our star chef will cook our hair into the soup. If that's the case, I'll have to eat Xingyi's special hair soup." Lin Xingyi was both angry and amused. She gently pushed Chen Yang with her elbow and didn't argue with him. "Go away, don't disturb me while I'm cooking." Chen Yang looked at Lin Xingyi's eager look, and guessed that she felt extremely strong now. And grateful, betraying teachers and ancestors woo. Chen Yang made a hurt expression. Lin Xingyi couldn't help laughing. Her attention was distracted for a moment, and she almost burned the food in the pot again. Finally, under Chen Yang's guidance, Xingyi completed the first dish in her life, scrambled eggs with tomatoes. "Although it doesn't look very good, it smells okay. Try it." Chen Yang smiled and said, "Although the appearance is not perfect, it should taste good." Lin Xingyi tasted it carefully, and her eyes suddenly lit up. "Really, it's delicious. Although it has a bit of a burnt smell, but..." Chen Yang also tasted it, and nodded encouragingly. "It's amazing that I was able to do this for the first time." As he spoke, he noticed that there was a small piece of egg drop at the corner of Lin Xingyi's mouth. Chen Yang put down his chopsticks and moved closer with a wicked smile. "Oh, Chef Xingyi, look at you, how can you eat in such an ungentle manner?" Before Lin Xingyi could react, Chen Yang had already reached out and gently wiped the egg yolk from the corner of her mouth. "What are you doing?" Lin Xingyi exclaimed, her cheeks turned red instantly. And she almost knocked over the bowl in panic. "Just like playing with a mimosa, it will react when you touch it lightly, which is very interesting." That's what Chen Yang thinks. Chen Yang had a wicked smile on his face and pretended to lick his fingers. But he didn't actually lick them. "Yeah, not bad, even the leftovers are so delicious. It seems that our star chef is really talented." Lin Xingyi was sitting opposite. And from her perspective, Chen Yang wiped the corner of her mouth with his thumb, and then put the thumb into his own mouth. Lin Xingyi was both embarrassed and annoyed. She walked to the bed, grabbed a pillow and threw it at Chen Yang. You Ray, so annoying." Chen Yang dodged flexibly. "This is your masterpiece. Is there anything wrong with me helping you to taste it?" "No way, I can't beat him." "If you have no shame, you are invincible. Lin Xingyi couldn't help but laugh too in the end. Sitting in the small kitchen, my cheeks felt slightly hot. The action of Chen Yang wiping the food from the corner of her mouth just now was still lingering in her mind. She couldn't help but wonder if this was an indirect kiss. As soon as this thought came to her mind, she felt like she was going crazy. What am I thinking about? Lin Xingyi's computer crashed. She patted her cheeks, trying to calm herself down. After dinner, Chen Yang cleaned up and washed the dishes, but saw Lin Xingyi still sitting there in a daze. Lin Xingyi held her face with both hands, her fox eyes blinking, and no one knew what she was thinking. Chen Yang